hard-working people, honest, hard-working, robust. A lot of pitmen, obviously, a lot of associated industries at the time.
Years ago was a very, very sociable place. A lot to do with the church, community, good community it was.
The friendship, in our early days, you could walk into anybody's house and be welcome.
The house was loved. It had a lot of loving in the house. And a lot of loving from the neighbours. Because every neighbour knew everybody else when I was a kid.
Everybody helped everybody. Everybody. Knock on your door, I got a bit of sugar, or knock on the door, I got a bit of butter, or everybody helped. And New Year's Eve and Christmas used to be in the streets, sitting. Had the weather then.
People used to stand at the gate and gossip late at night, Well, this is when I lived down the bungalows.
And walking down the front of Wattle, and you would see them all sharing the billy cans of tea. Can you remember what I'm talking about? Over the fence, they'd all be sitting outside.
Everybody knew everybody, and it was a happy little place. The children could play out, and you disappeared on the morning, and you come back at tea time, and so everybody just jumped in, and everybody played together. Obviously, with it being mining, there was a lot of the mining families, and they found it hard.
My earliest memories of the hardship of Leadgate would be the Eden miners walking through Leadgate with 3 foot of snow on the bottom, still in the shorts and the vests and an old coat pulled over them, blue with the cold because they had no showers and nothing down at the pit at the time. So they used to have to walk home and have a bath off a bathtub hanging on the wall.
I can remember my dad, he was a pitman, but we used to call, when they were on a mini, they got £1 27 shilling a week. And that was a minimum, but of course things were cheaper then as well,
Dad kept his own pay, and Mum got housekeeping. I don't know how much, nobody ever knew, but she had to feed us on the housekeeping. Then Mum went and had to take in washing and ironing, and she had an old pram, and a friend used to help her push the old pram round Leadgate, and she used to do washings and ironings for people. And she also cleaned at the post office at Leadgate, and she also cleaned at Redwell Hills farm. And cleaned for the lady next door, and she had 3 Pekingese dogs. It was very, very hard work until she took a heart attack and had to pack it in altogether.
My mum was Gladys Georgina Boyle, and my father was Martin Boyle, an Irish immigrant who had already been married in Ireland but lost his first wife in childbirth, but who had already gave birth to 8 children. And my mother had, there was 6 of us, so that was 14 at the time. And we resided in Croft House, next door to the wheat sheaf.
We had a big family. There was 11 of us. Well, we lived down the bungalows. We used to sleep, the lads, not the lasses. The lads used to have to sleep top and bottom in the beds, and they would all never fought. They argued in that, but they never got the chance because they got stopped. I had a good family life. Hard for my mother and father, I would think. For my mother bringing us up, be harder. Because, years later, she used to say to me, I often wondered where our next meal was coming from, but we never starved. I can never remember being hungry.
Croft House, it was a big house. It was a little bit damp. It was a breeding ground for cockroaches. And, you know, we being kids, like, we had a bit of fun with the cat. We didn't feed it for 2 days, and this night, as soon as you put the light off, the cockroaches came out. So when we put the light on, we threw the cat in, it went around the carpet like a Hoover Junior, eating the flaming cockroaches. It was hilarious.
And the vicar, who was Mr. Portsmouth at the time, used to come every wash day, and he would lift his vestry up, his vestments up, and warm his backside at the coal fire. And my dad would say, "Oh, I've been to work, get out the road." "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mawson." "Ah, you will be if you don't let me get some meat here."
Sit up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to prog a mat with a proggy, so your mother could finish it. And cut the clippings with the scissors. Do all that.
She used to turn the carpet round. We had just a square of carpet and oilcloth round about, and every year the carpet was turned around. Then as I got older, of course, there was a little bit more money coming in, so she was could furnish the whole house and put a proper fitted carpet down, which was great. It was very posh, that, you know.
I used to visit my grandma every school day, after school, for me tea. Strict instructions from her daughter, my mother. See how your grandma is, make sure you go there. And I always remember I got the same tea every night. It was cheese in a dish, in the oven, melted, with a big slice of homemade bread. And you used to dip it into the hot cheese, and I still can, the mouth waters just thinking about it.
And you used to always have, in the winter, broth. Mum always made a great big pan of broth. And then if the neighbours were hungry, many a time, you'd have somebody, you know, she would be running down the street with a pan of broth for some person, you know.
She was a lovely baker. She baked about 2 or 3 times a week. You'd have nine loaves, and then there was a pile of yesterday stoddies, and then tea cakes. On a Sunday she baked once round the cake, once round the table, and then the loaf. That was that saying. Once a piece of everything, then the loaf.
Well, life was hard, but you always had a full belly. You always had plenty of food, and you were always clothed. You know, there wasn't much money going around.
What goes with hardship gives you some fond memories also, because they never had anything, so they shared everything. Whether that was a wander down the woods, making a bow and arrow, a flying arrow, whatever. You made your own entertainment.
I remember when I was a kid though, the best times were when you were out in the fields. And you used to be always out in the fields in them days because it was all fields. Number 1 industrial estate was just fields, big hills and fields. Bunker Hill, that was Fry's Pond, the dog pond. We used to play in the water, and there used to be dead dogs floating in the water, in the dog pond, and we never ever caught a thing. No diseases, no nothing, and they must have been flying all over the place, or we must have been tough.
Well, we played outside, you know, we didn't do what the bairns do the day. We played outside, we had all our seasons, skippy rope season, hitchy dobber, what they call it, hotchpotch now or something. Hitchy dobber season, skippy rope season. We had all our seasons and all these, and that was all we did. We played outside. We were outside as much as possible because the weather was different then.
You played with your top and whip. You coloured your top of your whip your top out, you coloured it, and then you got your whip and you tied your whip round, and then you let it go like that, and then it would all spin round, and whose was the best colours. It was a lovely place to live.
Well, during the summer holidays, my mother used to give us 2p, and we used to go for the three, to share between the three of us, and we used to go down Front Street to Moore's shop and get 2p of broken biscuits. And then we were out all day, drank out the cow trough, and ate the biscuits in Leadgate Wood, where the big beach was, where the swing was, and enjoyed ourselves. And if we got a bit more hungry, the farmers' turnips were always there.
Used to get down to Allen's Ford and down the River Derwent in the summer weather. Used to go away all day. Sandwich jam bread, a bottle of water. Go away for about 8 hours. No bother whatsoever. Catch tadpoles and frogs and
no matter how far away you were playing, round about tea time you would hear, "Collie!" You could hear your mother shout for your tea, to come and get your tea. And it used to be miles away. I don't know how it managed, unless ears were tuned to your mother's voice, but you used to be called in for your tea. That's when your dad, your parents came home.
One of the things I used to do when I was a young lad, there was a local milkman by the name of Bobby Shield, well-known Leadgate family, and I used to climb out the house when I was about 6-year-old out the window. I used to open the upstairs window, so it made it look as if I was going out the upstairs window, but then I used to climb out the downstairs window and rattle the catch shut, so my parents never knew which window I'd got out of. And then I'd go and I would help the milkman, Bobby Shield, all day. But of course, my mother and them, they would get up at 7 o'clock or whatever time it was, and I'd already been out a couple of hours at that point. And then they would come looking for us, but it was always halfway around the milk round before they found me.
Well, we didn't have any television till I was about 14, so we had a radiogram. My dad splashed out and bought this radiogram, and we bought records, and my brother was at home then, the youngest brother, who had joined at 15 and a half, but he was at home then, and he used to dress up in teddy boy gear. And my mum and dad used to go to the pictures at the Roxy over the road here, and when they went to the pictures, Bob would say, "Come on, let's roll the carpet back." So we'd roll the carpet back and we'd put the radiogram on, and he learnt me to rock and roll jive, and he was the first one that ever taught me to dance.
It was always a flea pit. Roxy was always I don't know about worst, but it was always the poor picture house compared to the Rex and the Plaza and at concert and things like that. There used to be little matinees on, I believe. You used to go on a Saturday morning. You used to be sitting and you'd feel something go flying across your feet. It was the mice. Mice used to be flying about all over the place.
Mum used to send you out at 10 o'clock in the morning for the Roxy to the pictures. I think half the time it was just to get you out of the road so she could get her work done or do the washing for somebody, So we used to go there. Mum and Dad used to go there as well. And we used to sit in the back, in the front, because they were the cheapest seats. And we always had an usherette with its torch there and used to come round and check on you. And then when she vanished for a break outside, you used to run up the back of the hall and sit in the deer seats and thought you were the bee's knees sitting in the deer seats, When she came back in, she used to go, "Out, get back to the front."
And then after that, they started the bingo at the Roxy. And I went once or twice with the wife. After I got married, we used to come back and see my mother. She still lived here. And we used to call in and have a game of bingo at the Roxy.
And then leaving the Roxy, if we had gone on a night time, we used to leave the Roxy and there was a fish and chip shop down the road. and you'd have a penny for a penny's worth of batter. And you used to get a penny's worth of batter. And Dad, on a Saturday night, you could never speak. The radio was on and you listened to the the football results. But I would have to come up before that and buy the pink at the paper shop that's just down the road there. I used to have to buy the pink paper that give you the sports results in there, but he liked to listen to them on the radio and tick off, because he would do his pools. Always the chance that you could win the pools. Always the chance.
My mum used to walk us. We used to live down in Pontview, and I remember her sort of bringing us up in the pram, and then or pulling us up on a sledge when the weather, because we had bad winters then, coming up and parking our sledge in the shop. And we used to sort of just play in the back shop while my mum did all the hard work on the front. So literally I was brought up in the shop, and the little butchers we had next door, he had a slaughterhouse out the back. I remember coming in from school on a Saturday when it was a long day in the shop, and he had his little granddaughter used to go and would go in and would pulling like eyes out of sheep's heads and stuff like that. You can do an abattoir, so it was a bit different from a dress shop.
Well, we had the store, Leadgate store, was a big long, there was how many departments? There was fruit department, grocery department, shoe department, and glassware and that, and then clothes department in the butchers. It's still open, the store's not open, but it's still there along the bottom there. Oh, my mother used to say she would never lived without the store, because you got a good, dividend. And she says that's what kept us going, feeding us. My mother always said that. And then there was Katie Winters. She had a little sweet shop. Used to go in there not that you had any money to buy sweets, but that's where you could buy half of sweets. Half of the sweets.
And it was just after the war when rationing was in, and you'd get word to say that Mrs. So-and-so's got some sweets in. So you'd run home, get your ration book, get some, and run to the shop and hope that you were in time before it was all sold out, because everybody heard about the sweets being, and you went there, and you usually stood in a long queue and hoped that they wouldn't run out. Little midget gems type of sweets. It was always the same kind of sweets after the war.
The shops were very busy. It was a proper, we had a couple of butchers, we had, a couple of, 3 dress shops, we had the shoe shop, we had cake shops, we had a couple of little supermarkets. In fact, there used to be a shop across the road there. It was like a little general dealers. Directly across the road from us used to be the Sportsman's pub. So we had quite a lot of pubs in Leadgate. The commercial was knocked down, and that's where the doctor's is at the moment.
Well, my father was on the committee in Leadgate Club for just short of 25 years. And when he was on the committee there, he used to run all the entertainment, and they used to have they used to go to Newcastle to book the artists. My sister was a professional singer as well, so she worked at the club a couple of occasions, but she went off to work. She worked all over the world after that. But my father was very, very friendly with Bobby Thompson. As a matter of fact, he used to go gambling with Bobby Thompson in Gray's Club in Newcastle on a Thursday night. They used to meet up, I think.
Used to have great nights in that Gate Club. The miners always used to meet there on a Saturday night and Sunday night with the wives. Aye. Friday night was the man only, no wives.
Oh, it was a men's domain, and I. Yes, and then there was Leadgate Club. Oh, women were hardly allowed in there. You could go into the room, but you couldn't go into the bar. Women were never allowed in the bar. Now there's more women in than men.
Used to have great nights in that Gate Club. and trips away to the seaside and the coast.
June the 29th, St. Peter and Paul, that was our big trip. And went to Whitley Bay. And there used to be about 13 or 14, a lot of buses anyway that went. And there again, my poor mother, people, she used to send us to home out with boxes of sandwiches and that. And she used to say, you know, people would be saying, have a nice time. And my mother used to say, I wish I was back. Because my dad couldn't take time off work because he was a pitman. So she had us all, well, because she had family, she had sisters and that, and they came with us. And they looked after us, and we had a good time.
We used to put all the kids onto the beach. We used to all sit round in a circle with the deck chairs, and the men used to go to the pub.
Used to be about 20 buses. We used to get 10 shilling. When I was about 13 or 14, we got 10 shilling that went up, and I thought I was a millionaire with 10 shilling.
I don't think it's changed. I think it's just the same nice people in it.